lot of tensions flaring. There is a community center there. It's in a predominantly black neighborhood where folks say we have been fighting for years to get this place updated, outfitted, upgraded. It's not happened. And now it's being taken to be used for people who are here in this country, came illegally, so that they have what they need. They can be treated like human beings. But there's a guy in that neighborhood. I was trying to play some of what he had to say, but literally I would have had to believe every other word. I think you would get his point, Olivia. He's angry that this is his neighborhood and what he needed and wanted for so long didn't come until now for someone else.
Certainly, and I think you were seeing some of the quotes saying, I've been a lifelong Democrat, but now I'm starting to reconsider, given that these parks where they felt like their sons were able to play kept them out of a life of crime. But one thing that I think we're going to watch is just how much the migrant and crime issues are going to be colliding in places like New York. If you look, it's already playing out in places like the New York race took place, George Santos, a special election, where they're saying they're trying to blame Tom Suozzi for rolling out the red carpet. And Tom Suozzi is also trying to separate himself and put distance from the migrant crisis because it's draining the resources. And there is that friction between people who want to help and want to create a system where these people are seeking asylum and coming into the country, and people who feel like it's impacting their livelihoods and it's causing an unfair imbalance in their lives.
Okay, so by the way, we're just getting news that the border tax bill, as we've been told, is going to be out today. Whether it's before the end of the show, I don't know, but we're told that it is coming. So to this issue in Boston, also this is translating in Chicago, by the way, where they found time this week to vote on a ceasefire in Gaza, and I'm not sure how that's going to impact that situation. But where the mayor also says he supports removing police officers from schools, they've got a crime epidemic there, but they also have the situation where local residents say, again, assets in their own communities either are not being used for them as promised or they're being used elsewhere. There are several lawsuits as well. The Free Press quotes one resident, Cata Trust, says this: all of these people, I've supported every one of them, talking about Mayor Brandon Johnson and his allies. She says, are you freaking kidding me? There's a humanitarian crisis in the black community, but every time we have a need in our community, we're told there are no funds. Mario, there are now multiple lawsuits there in Chicago.
No, absolutely. And that's my hometown, I should mention, of Chicago. I was just there over the holidays, and so I saw some of this stuff firsthand. If we were to take kind of an autopsy of where we are right now in the political cycle, Greg Abbott is probably the most influential person of this election cycle, right? By taking that tactic of busing migrants up to these cities, he's exposed some of these fissures within the Democratic Party. You're seeing just at the time where Biden needs to kind of ramp up this coalition, you've got black voters expressing just extreme dismay about some of the policies that are happening and blaming Democrats right now, blaming Democrats and Democratic mayors like Brandon Johnson, et cetera. So it's really kind of exposing this rift right now, just given some of these long simmering just kind of tensions between these different communities and constituencies.
So it's important, though, to remember Abbott's had a big role in kind of highlighting the Democratic divisions on this, but it's just a small proportion of migrants in cities like New York and Chicago have been bused by Governor Abbott. Illegal immigrants head to those cities anyway and would be regardless of what Texas is doing. And in terms of the ultimate responsibility for the crisis at the border, on February 2nd, 2021, a couple days after taking office, Biden repealed Remain in Mexico and these asylum agreements with Northern Triangle countries. And anyone who knew anything about the border knew that was going to create a disaster. And sure enough, it has. And he didn't need to do that. No Republican made him do that. He did that of his own volition because he thought anything Trump had done had to be repealed, even though Trump had created with those policies a secure border.
Well, Marie, what about that? Because the president will say now, I need these tools that are in this new bill that we think is coming together that we hope to see today. But, folks will point out there were executive orders that were stripped away. I was told at the time the transition teams were warning the Biden team, you guys know what's going to happen if you do this. Those were decisions he made 3 years ago.
There are two problems with Remain in Mexico. The first is that a number of courts have actually ruled that it's not legal. So there were significant legal challenges to Remain in Mexico. The other problem is the Mexican government has to agree to it and has to play an active role in it, which we have no confidence that they will. It's not a long-term solution, Shannon. Sure, at the time, and the Biden team has said this in court filings, it did help reduce the number of migrants coming across the border. It also may be illegal. So it is not a fix. We need systemic fixes here that only Congress can provide. Republicans in Congress have been begging for Democrats to sign something. Joe Biden says he'll sign it. which by the way,
How convenient in an election year.
Well,
Well, you know, he's
I know
he's upside down in all of his polling on
there's
immigration.
politics going
So
on here, too.
listen, there's motivation on both sides
Sure.
to take two very different tacks on this.
But what's interesting is if Biden were to sign this immigration bill, a lot of progressives don't like it because
don't.
it is tougher than any Democrat, certainly in my lifetime, has ever said they would sign.
Yeah.
Independents love it. Moderate Republicans who don't like Donald Trump love it. So it may be good politically, but it's good for our security and for the border, and Republicans should get behind it.
Well, and